DanniStories live stream. I'm Dennis Cole, your hostess for the evening, and I have figured it out. And now I know how to get my spreadsheets into my database. And as you can see, I have a whole bunch of them on there. So, without further ado, let's talk about spreadsheets and databases for writers. So, I have a whole bunch of files open on my desktop, so I'm closing a few of them. And I want to show you how I got those lists of words into my database. Now, I am assuming that if you're going to follow along that you have LibreOffice installed or you have Microsoft Word. If you have Microsoft Office, it's going to be a little different, but the basic things that I'm going to do today will work in Office or in LibreOffice. So the main thing you need for a database to work is a JRE. And I am not going to go into that, but I will leave you a link. Let's see who's with us this evening. So far, nobody, but it's early yet. So if you have any questions, I welcome them. Please put a question in the chat. So, to make a database of your lists, first step, search the internet for an interesting list for you. Second, highlight the entire page with CTRL-A on Windows, or Command A on Mac. Open your spreadsheet and put your cursor in the first cell in the A column. Control V to paste your info into your spreadsheet. If it doesn't look right, Control Z should undo it. And for you Mac users, where I say Control, you say Command. So these little shortcuts actually date from the old word processor WordStar. So thank you, WordStar, for giving us these nifty shortcuts that we use every day. So that's how you get it into the spreadsheet, as I showed you last time. Now, you've got your spreadsheet and you have saved it to a spreadsheet file. Now, and if it's right, save it to a file. Make a directory for your files to keep them together. You don't already have one. Okay. This is very important. You have to remember to constantly save your work. Don't hesitate to save your work. Anything that it's going to take you a long time to recreate, or if it's a hassle for you, save it in the middle of it. Save it often. Now, so at this point, you should have some lists that are in spreadsheet form, and you're saying, well, how do I put this in my database, and why should I do this anyway? All right, I'll answer the first question first. Hopefully the rest of this video will show you why you should bother to create a database. So, all right, here we are. If I want to get a database in here, I'm going to go to my spreadsheet. Now, there's not really a way to import it in LibreOffice. There's probably a way to do it in Office, but I haven't used Office in years, so I'm not going to even go there. If you need to learn how to do it, then there are plenty of tutorials. But I'll show you how to do it in LibreOffice. You go to your spreadsheet, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to open one that I haven't already got in here. So I'm going to find the directory where I stuffed all of this. So let me find something. This is a good one. Alrighty. In my universe, I have something called the aspirations and the values. So there are 9 values and 7 aspirations that Giant hold dear. And this is how they design their buildings and things. So I'm going to go into my spreadsheet. I'm going to click in that upper left corner to select everything. And I'm going to do CTRL-C, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to click on tables. Now notice it has one selected. I cannot unselect. So here's what happens when you do this. I'm going to go CTRL-V, and it's going to open the copy table window. Now if I don't do anything, if I just hit next, it's going to overwrite my prefixes table. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to do definition and data. It's not going to overwrite it, it's going to append it, which is adding it at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this table. I'm going to call it values. I'm going to call it Giant values. And I'm going to go create, and it's going to say, do I want a primary key? Yes! I cannot emphasize this enough. You need a primary key. If you don't have one, if you say no, this is not going to work. So yes, you have to have, and it's warning me that something is too long, and it's showing me exactly where it's too long. Let me, I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if you can see this. No, you can't see it. I got an error message. So the error message I got is value too long in statement insert into Xian values ID, AV, trait, color, building, notes. These are the fields that it says continue anyway. Basically, it's telling me that for one of my entries, I have a blank field. And I'm saying, yes, I want it. So if you have something that all the other records have that field, and then you've got a blank, you may get an error message. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's all alright. And now you will see that I have Xian values, and here's what I just pasted and how it turned out. And even though I have I have one blank statement, it's still copied. Now let me see if I have all 7. I have all 7 aspirations. I have all 9 values. So it did copy them all. So now if I want to be able to see everything, I can just go to this divider and double click, and now you can see all of that. And same thing with that. So it just looks nicer when I open it. This won't affect how it looks on the form I'm going to create or in the queries. This just affects right here when I go into table data view. So, alright, it looks good. And now I have a bunch of word lists. Now what am I going to do with these? First off, I need to connect the fields that are here. I have some tables that are not related, like adjectives and adverbs. They are both English, but in the table itself, I have ID, word, comparative, and superlative. Now, I don't have, if I have IDs in other fields, it's not going to correlate. The number 1 is not going to be the word all in another table. So I'm not going to relate this database to another one because it is not relatable. Now, adverbs, same thing. It has word, but the first word is not all. So 1 as an ID does not compute with the word not. So yeah, I'm not going to join the IDs of these 2 tables because it will pick the wrong thing. It's not going to match up. So these tables are not related. And this is going to be the case for most tables that you get off the internet. They're not going to be related. So how do you use this? You're not going to combine things except where you might have something in common. So I'm sure that some of the words in these databases are in other places. So I'm just saying I'm not going to connect them on the ID field because that will not work. So basically, now That doesn't mean I can't relate these databases. It just means that I don't need to connect any of them because none of the fields are going to match. That doesn't mean that data in the fields won't match. And this is a distinction that hopefully will become clear in a little bit. So if I'm going to do a query, say I want to try to match up some of these words. Alright, I'm going to use a wizard to create the query because it's easier. So I've got my 1,000 words table. I'm going to get all of these fields. If you do the first one, you can select them one at a time, and this just dumps it back. So what fields you want to see in the query is what you pick here. So if you want to do them one at a time, that's how you do that. I don't need frequency. Main type would be useful. Okay. Now, back. Because I'm going to add another table, I'm going to get adjectives. And I'm going to, I've already got my 1,000 words table words. So I'm going to get word out of here, and I'm going to do that for adverbs. I don't want all of them. Yeah, you have to be careful not to do that because you have to start all over again. Okay, so I want ID and word and type, what part of speech it is. Then I'm going to do adjectives, and I'm going to do just word. I'm not going to do the other forms. I'm just going to have the root word. I'm going to go to adverbs, and I'm just going to get the root word. Alright, now if I'm going to take 3 tables and I'm going to compare them, what I'm going to do is go to the next step. First, I want to sort by the word. And it doesn't matter which of the tables, they all have words. I'm just going to pick one. Then I'm going to sort by type. Okay, next. Search conditions. Alright, so the word field in 1,000 words table is equal to the, that's not going to work. Alright. Now I'm not going to put a value because I'm not looking for particular words. If I was looking for the word apple, I would type the word apple in there and I would get one and only one record from 1,000 words. But that's not what I want to do here. Detail or summary. I want all records. Next. Okay. And I'm going to add a little label here so I know which one comes from where, because they're all word, so I don't want to get confused as to which table we're talking about here, so I'm going to do that. Now, overview. Okay, so we're going to call this the 1,000 word query. I can change that if I want to, but I'm going to stick with that. Alright, so fields in the query are these fields. I'm going to sort it by word 1000. I want a group. Let's see. Alright, so how do I group them by type? I go back to sorting order. Now I'm sorting by type. Maybe I should sort by type first and then by word. So yeah, I'm going to sort by type first and then by word. Okay. But grouping is grayed out. Why? Okay. Well, okay, so I guess I would have to pick summary to get grouping right now, so that's fine. Alright. Now, so we're going to sort it by part of speech first and then by word. Okay. Now we're going to modify the query because I'm not satisfied with this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to pull this down so we can see all of our fields. That doesn't change anything. In this screen, all we're doing is saying, okay, this might be the same as that, and that might be the, actually, no, I don't want that. I want that. And we're going to move this a little bit so that we can, alright, I'm going to do that. Yeah, it's not good to have them bigger than you need them to be. You just want to be able to see all the fields in the tables. So that's a table, that's a table, that's a table. And we've got this. I'm going to arrange these so they make a little more sense. So word can be in either of these tables. So we are going to include words in those tables. So we are going to display them. And we want to sort ascending there and there. And we want to display that. Okay. So let's see what we get. Let's run the query and see what we get. So we're going to save this. And now if we close this, we just double click, you'll see that we now have a query here. We're going to double click it. And here is our lists. And these are the words that were also in the other tables. Now, the word alone is an adjective, and it is also in the adverbs, because the way you use it might change it from an adjective to an adverb. So early can also be used that way. So this only got words that were in both tables, so we are not done. We want to get a word that is either in one or in the other and show all of them. So here's how we fix that. We go into our relationships and we're going to add the first three. In fact, let's go ahead and add them all, because at some point we are going to want to do this with other terms as well. Now, the description table doesn't have any data in it yet, but you can use queries to put data there. The reason for having a database to massage your data is so you don't have to go entry by entry and copy it and paste it somewhere. The beauty of a database is you can have these lists of words and you can do something with them if you can figure out a pattern that would be repetitive if you did it in a word processor. So that is why we are here, and I've got a lot of tables. And some of these tables have things in common. What I want to do is take information from one table and make new tables that have all of the information that I want. So that's what I'm doing here. And boy, there's a lot of stuff. But I'm not going to use all of these at once. In fact, my computer, which has pretty hefty processing power, probably would, have problems with working with all of these tables at once. You don't want to do that, especially if you've got an older computer that doesn't have a lot of RAM. You don't want to work with more than maybe 2 or 3 tables at a time. So keep that in mind. Databases can really give your computer a workout, and you can have crashes if you run out of RAM. So you want to make sure that when you are doing this with your computer, that you work with 2, maybe 3 tables at a time. And when you make a table from scratch, you do not want to have 20 fields across. You want to have a maximum of 10. And most of these don't have nearly that many. Now my Giant Values table has 6, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I don't want to do much more than that. It just, when you add stuff to your database, and you will once you learn how to do this, I use my databases constantly, and they help me, especially when I have related stories. I have databases of which character is in which stories. Now this since words table is way too big, so we're going to use queries to make new tables and not have that many, because that is a problem. I'm seeing that. That's the only one that I think is going to be really bad. Now what you can do is you can group these things. Now I could have a row for parts of speech. Colors, and numerals, I'm gonna put over here. So you've got parts of speech there. I've got this big old description table, which has not got that many things in it. I'm probably gonna want to rework that, because I probably need a table for parts of speech. and then I can do away with all these fields. So you're gonna at times realize that, hey, I've got something that doesn't make sense. You know, when I made the description table, I just knocked it off in a hurry, and then now I'm looking at it and I'm going, wait a minute. You know, these should not be fields across. They should be entries. They should be records, not field names. So I'm going to change that. I may redesign that table. Since it has no data in it, I might just delete it. So it's not going to be very meaningful right now. So, however, I see something that I can use. Now, category ID is like type. So I could make a connection between type and category name. Unique constraint. Okay, well, maybe if I go the other way. Nope, it doesn't like that. So I'm not sure why. I can research this later. But this table doesn't even have data in it yet, and it's already got a problem. But, it's one of those things. So, now that's letters, so I'm going to put it down here. And then there is a number of syllables, words. This is data on frequency and usage. So those are not related because you can't compare letters to words, right? You would not have a relationship. A letter is not a syllable or a word, usually. I mean, A can be one, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about a case that applies to most of your data. A is a rarity as a word, so we're not going to go there. So how do you know? You've got a bunch of word lists. How do you know what you're doing with this? It takes some thinking. It's like, okay, what do these lists have in common? And the vast majority of them have word in them. So, yeah, we got a bunch of words. We want to relate these words. And BASE is a relational database program. It's finding relationships and putting those together to get the data you want to display. And this is, kind of a hard thing, but once you get used to it and get into the flow of it, it makes sense. So bear with me. So you've got a bunch of descriptive words. So what we're going to do is we're going to look here. We've got a lot of different categories that we need to make separate tables out of. So we're going to think about what we can do with this, but right now we could connect all of them by word, but we don't really need to until we make the queries, right? So now I have verbs and verbs too. A lot of these might be in common, so, and they have a lot of fields that are similar. What problem did it have? Well, I don't understand why it's coming up with that error, but, alright. It's one of those things. Okay, so we've got all of our tables and our fields, and we've got a bunch of stuff that we can work with here. So what I want to do, yes, I want to save that. Okay, so we're going to go back to queries, and we're going to look at this one. Yeah, so I didn't solve my problem, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna edit this query, and Sql View is for programmers. I am just using the regular view because this is easier. And I don't know SQL, it's a programming language, so it's a little more complicated, but basic premises are the same. So what I want to do is, now I've got this connected, I want to edit the relationship. Alright, I've got it as an inner join. And it can be a left join, which contains all from, okay. Alright, so this is what's wrong. It's backwards. Let me do that. Alright, let's try this again. It matters which table you drag to which table. So we want to include all words in the 1,000 most common words in English. So we're going to drag this over here. And then we're going to edit it and look at it. So why is it backwards? Yeah, all records from table 1,000 words. Okay, it uses a little different method than I was used to in Office. And the version of Office I was using way back yonder was Office 2007. So a lot of things have changed. And it's been a lot of years since I did this. So I am still working from skills that I acquired way back yonder when I was doing database programming in libraries I worked at. So anyway, alright, so we're doing a right join. We're going to contain all the records from the table 1,000 words, but only records from adjectives where the values in the field are matching. That's gobbledygook for, okay, if the word apple is there in 1,000 words and we have an adjective apple, which we won't, then it would be included. So if the word red is in 1,000 words, and if it's in adjectives, then yeah, we're going to see the word red. If there's a match, we're going to see it, but we want to have it look at all of the records in 1,000 words to make that decision. So you need to decide which database you want to see all the records. Even if they're not showing in this particular query, this join will work for other queries as well. So we want to use all the words in 1,000 words. We only want to select the ones on this query that show up in adjectives. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to do the same thing here. And we want this also to be an outer join. I'm not going to go into outer and inner joins and all this stuff, but if you just look at the little explanation on this, you will figure it out. You just figure out which table is the one that you want it to look at all the words, and then pick the kind of join that works. You know, and you can play around with this stuff. Okay, now we are going to save this. Now that we have the right kinds of joins, now we're going to get different results. Let's double click and look at how many more records we found. So if you write a query and you don't see much data, then you need to go back and consider what kind of joins you have, because that's going to determine how much data you get out of it. And here we go. We've got the word able, the word lone, the word alternative. These are out of the adjective table, and we had a lot of them from the adverb table. So to see all your words, double click on that right side line, and we're gonna need a little more room there. Okay. Now we have our list. Now what can we do with this? Alright. Now that we've got our query working the way we want, now we can go over, or what's that right now? Okay. So there are forms. Think of a form as like a data entry form, like the front end of a software. This is powerful. You can make your own software from this if you wanted. And basically a form is where you make it look pretty. So you can write a query and you can see the data, but if you want it to look a certain way, if you want something colorful, we'll design a form here. So I'm going to use a wizard, and we're wanting all of our fields in the query, and this is real simple and easy to fix up. Now we could do a subform if we wanted to. I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm just going to do quick, dirty, and simple. Alright, so now how do you want this to look? You can have it like that, you can have it like that, you can have it like the table looks. You can have it, you know, all sorts of different ways. I usually like to have something like that. And now you can set the data entry. And you can either use it for just putting new records in, or you can display it. You can have it so that it's just to look at, or you can allow modification, deletion, and addition. If you want to be able to edit it, don't check any of those boxes, just do next. And they already have some default things. I like that bright blue, and there's an ice blue, and there's a red, there's a violet. Let's make it purple. I am partial to purple. And if you want a 3D look, that there's a little difference there if you don't want a border, or if you want it to look flat. I like the 3D look. The 3D look just adds a little bit of that 3D touch to each box. I like that. And then we're going to set the name. This is compare 1,000 words to adjective and adverb. You can be very descriptive on this name if you want, and I could go into more detail if I wanted to. Now I can work with the form, or I can modify the form. Let's modify it. I'll show you how you can make it look like you want. Now this is just the canned thing that comes out, but the fields may not be long enough, particularly if you have a memo field. I'll talk about field types a little bit, but basically I just took the default width and everything from the table that was in the spreadsheet. So these have a default length, so they're probably okay. But say I don't like the way these are, the order that these are in, I can move this, and it's got the nice grid for you there, so you can tell if you're getting it lined up. Alright, now I have modified my form. I'm going to save it. And now I have a form. And here we go. Now so there's that, and if you want to click through the 41 records, boink, boink, boink. Now these are only showing, they're not showing 1,000 words, they're showing 41, which are the 41 that were in both tables? I wanted either or. Alright, so but some of them are in adverbs and some of them are in adjectives. So yeah, so you've got that. Alright. So yeah, let's make another table. This time we're going, now, oh, I should talk about, now if you add a word, which table is it going to go in? Well, if you put the word in word 1000, it's going to appear in the word 1000 table. We probably don't want to do that because it's the most common 1,000 words. If you add to that, it's no longer 1,000 words, it's 1,001 or 1,020, whatever you added to it. So this just shows you how to use one table to get to see which words are in other tables. So we're not necessarily wanting to do more than that in this. If we add adjectives and adverbs here, they're going to appear in the respective tables. So if you add a word in word adjective, it's going to add it to adjective. And it doesn't know whether it's an adjective or not, so be careful. If you want only adjectives in your adjective table, then be careful if you're adding something, so don't be fooled by the labels you put on these things. The database doesn't have any way of knowing what is an adjective or an adverb. You have to tell it. So, just a little caveat there. Whatever you call your table is not going to have any effect on the data itself, which is intuitive, but when you get in the thick of things, you can get confused. So, now, let's do a report, because I wanted to take you through all of this. Okay, so you've got your form, and that's nice. You can use it on the computer, but what if you want a paper copy, or you want to send a PDF to somebody? You don't want to send them your entire database. They would have to have base installed. But if you've got data you want to share with somebody, and you just want a report that you can email, well, here's how you do that. Go to Reports, use Wizard, and just select your fields, and you might want to give them some more meaningful names. Now, these are fields. You can't have them be very long. You don't want your titles of your fields, your labels, to be longer than the data in them. And that goes for any field, anywhere. You want to make sure that in a database you are not making your field names this long when your words are this long. So with that constraint, if we just add a space, because you can't have spaces in field names, right? But in labels you can. Labels are more English-like, so, or whatever your native language is. So I'm just going to make that look a little more, likely by adding a space. I don't want to spell out adjective and adverb. Adverb would probably fit. Adjective would probably be too long. So that said, now let's group these. We're going to group them by type and then by word. Okay, and then sort options. It's already got type and word. We don't want to add any others, or do we? Do we want adjectives first and then adverbs? We could do that. All right. And the layout. Do we want it just one column? Do we want 3 columns? Do we want it in blocks with the labels above, or in blocks with labels to the left? I'm gonna put it 3 columns. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, then we'll have our that's what it's going to look like. We could do 2 columns, because really 3 columns doesn't, we don't have a 3rd column, so 2 columns is good, or we can have it single column with all the words in a group. So we can have it however we want, but if it's grouped by type, maybe I don't like that, because one of these is going to be blank every time. So maybe I want to go back and not group it by type. I just want to group it by word. So that'll make it look a little different. Okay, so now we've got the word up there, and then we've got whether it's an adjective or an adverb or something different. So now at this point we can choose the layout, and I could have it in 2 columns. I think I'm going to do that. And I could have it either portrait or landscape. These are not long, so I could fit it on an 8.5 by 11 page. So I'm going to do it portrait. Most database things you're going to want landscape. You're going to want them long, but portrait is right side up. So and what kind of report do you want? Do you want a static or a dynamic report? A dynamic report will change when your data changes. So you're not going to get a report that's animated. Dynamic just means that if you change the data in your table, then the data in this report will change. So you want dynamic. And we're going to create the report now. I don't need to change anything. If I wanted to change the font or the other things about it, then yes, I would make a difference there. But we're just going to create the report now. And here's the report. And that's what it looks like. So, and we've got some word endings. And that's what it looks like. So, pretty good, huh? So that way, if you wanted to share one of your word lists with somebody, you could make a report of what words you want to share, and you could send it to them. So, say you're teaching a course, and maybe you're teaching a language. You're teaching English, and you want to send a word list to somebody. So there you go. And that is how you go through the whole process. You get your data in the tables, you can write queries, you can do forms, and you can send reports out if you want. So, or if you want to have a copy of it so that you can have it as a reference sheet or something, that's one use that you might make of the reports. So, let's look at some different kinds of queries. So you've got your tables, right? And you can do different things. Now, what if you want to take some of that data from that table that has too many fields and make it a more workable thing? You could write a query. So we're going to use Wizard. We're going to look at, all right, hold on. We're going to look at the since words table, which I just did column after column. So we're going to do site. We're going to do beautiful and unattractive. And we want to take these site words and put in a table called site. So So first we're going to do the query, one step at a time, right? So we're going to sort it by that, then by beautiful, and then by the unattractive. And we're just going to skip that. We're not going to set search conditions. And we're going to have that. So now, oh wait, we might want to have, no, we'll do that later. Okay, aliases, we're fine. Overview, we're going to call it the site words query. Okay, and we're going to modify this thing because I don't think it's going to be right off the bat. Okay, now we've got our sentence words table, and we're just working with one table at this point. So here we are. Okay. And we'll extend that out a little bit so we can see all of our fields. And the same thing here. We can just double click. It will also, if you noticed on that first one, it made it just a little smaller. It works both ways. If you double click on this, essentially you're telling that column, I want to see my words displayed in just enough room to see the whole word. So it might reduce the size of your column. And that, and we want to see all of these. Let's try to do this. So we're going to save it because I made that wider and I made these wider. I didn't make any changes yet. I'm going to look at it and see what I need to do with it. All right. So here we are. We've got some that are found in the other columns. We have a lot of them that aren't. So, but here we've got only 3 columns. And so if they're beautiful, they're here. And what in the world? Whoa, we have some data problems. We have some lists that got smushed together. So that's got to be fixed. And so now that I know that's a problem, I can fix it. So we're going to go into the table itself to fix that. So we're going to go into the table. Since I copied it off the internet, yeah, there's some problems. So, okay. Now, what we need is to get this. La, 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 la. Okay. So, what we're going to do is get that word vivid. Actually, these are in alphabetical order, so I want to get glimmering. I'm going to Control X to get that out of there, and Control V. There's glistening. Now there's glimmer. I can barely see. This is one thing I can do to help myself out here is I can select the whole table and I can go into alright, I want to change my font. So where is font in a database? Well, maybe I can't do that. Be nice if I could make my font bigger. So I hope I've got a whole word there. I'm not sure. Well, actually I did. Not bad. And then, oh, I can't read that. Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Maybe if I blink enough, I can see this. This is crazy. I've got a 48-inch screen I'm looking at. Oh. This is just not happening. Let's see. Let me sit up a little. Oh, that was glowing, and I got glow. All right, glowing. That's why it looked funny. Hope I got all of the ing. All right. And I'll go here and just, oh, that isn't what I want. I'll just take the extra G out. Now, so what I should have done when I copied this list off the internet, I should have put it in a text file and massaged the data before I put it in the spreadsheet. So yeah, that's what happened. I think got a whole word there. We'll find out. Because this would have been much easier in a word processor. So that's a lesson to y'all. It is better to thank you. I think that's our pharmacy folks delivering my prescription. I can't make heads or tails of that. Okay, maybe. Yes, all right. And Christine. I think I got it all. Let's see. And if you hold down Shift and use your arrow key, you can get one letter at a time. I think that's all. I'm not sure. I got it. Okay. Now. Not sure what I've got here. Okay. When you've got old eyes, you just have problems. I think that's splendid. Is that a word? Wow. Sparkling. Some of these are easier than others, but some letters next to each other. Let's see. Shimmering. Shiny. Ooh, shiny. Ooh. Okay. Twinkling. Vibrant and vivid. And I'm not worried about vivid being at the top, because what I can do is I can yes. Okay. Oh, I didn't want to do that. All right. It's a little harder when you have a whole bunch, because really the reason that didn't work is because it that worked better. Okay, now we have the order that we started with the ID in order. Yeah, you can't just sort one column like you could in a spreadsheet, so I will have to work with this, but that's okay. You can do it with a query and you can rewrite it. So right now we're just going to get these somewhere. I have bloated in there twice because I was copying from two different lists. One did not capitalize. So, I hit Control-Z instead of Control-X. There we go. I'll get it right in a minute. It's okay. bulbous. Bulky. Craggy. And of course, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So, but I think it is good to have separate lists, even a whole bunch of separate lists, because if you just have a bunch of words disheveled, then what I'm planning to do with this won't work. So grab dreary, dull, I'm getting better at this. I think my eyes are adjusting finally to what I want them to do. Oh, I missed a letter. Faded. There we go. Filthy. Oh, it's filthy. It's filthy. It needs a bath. And I missed the Y. Oh, sorry. I need somebody with good eyes to come do this for me. And if you put something somewhere and you don't want it there, CTRL-Z will help you. And that works in your word processor, in your spreadsheet, in your database, just about everywhere where you are typing. You can do CTRL-Z to undo. And if you undo too many times by mistake, there is CTRL-Y. So these little tips are good. So I'll put remember X to cut, Control-V to paste, and Control-Z to undo. You can even Control-Y to redo. For you Mac users, Control equals these shortcut keys work. Because your operating system uses them. Windows or Mac or Linux. They will work in almost any software. Okay. So that's good to know. So here we go. I'm still working on my sense words. Flashy. Gaudy. Globular. That's a funny sounding one. Globular. Gloomy. Grotesque. Oh, I didn't get my E. And I am left clicking twice. So there are things you can do with clicking. The double click to select a word. You can triple click to select a sentence or a paragraph. Maybe even your entire document, depending on how long or short it is and what software it is. So these little shortcuts are handy so that you avoid retyping and retyping and retyping stuff as much as you can. So, homely. Misshapen. Scummy. Oh. Shapeless. Unsightly. And wrinkled. Okay. And so if you have troubles with your database, they're going to show up in your queries. So if you want to be able to work with it, you gotta fix it. So let's go ahead and get these fixed. I could just go on the internet and get another list, but basically I've got a lot I can work with here. a lot. So let's work on getting some of these in a different place. So I've got the site words out. So I'm going to save this. And didn't want to do that. Okay, now let's try our query again. And much better, huh? Your data, sometimes the problem is with the table, sometimes it is with your query. But, alright, we want to get all of our things situated here. So we're gonna sort it by site. And since we can't really so what can we do to fix our sort orders? Alright, we can go back into the query and edit the query. So we're going to edit this. And all we need to do, now we've already got them ascending, but they're not sorting that way. So we need to figure out why that's not working. Alright. So if we just want site words, okay, why is it not sorting them like it's supposed to? Because it sorts by record, not by column. So if we want to get these to sort, they need to be in a query by themselves. So here's how you do that. We are going to go back into the queries, and we are going to go to hello, and go to since words, and we are going to get ID, beautiful site words. Alright, and now we're going to sort it. I don't like that. Okay. This is a problem. Alright. So if we sort it by ID, alright, so we don't want ID in there. So let's go and edit this again, and we're going to take ID out. Wrong query. Alright, so we don't want that to be the since words query. Tell you what. Since this is the since words query, we want all of them in here. So we're gonna put all of it in there. And a quick way to do this is just hit this, double click it. Oh. And I just put it in there more than once. Okay, I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to take that out. And you'll notice that it has the name of the table and an asterisk. That means that it is going to have it all ascending. So now you can have a column and only sort by that one column. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put ID here. And I'm just going to drag ID here. And this is going to not show, but I'm going to have it ascending by ID. Now here's how that works. I'm going to save it, and here's the result. If I can double click. And here we have, it's sorted on the ID field, so we still have our problems, but now if I go like that, there we go. All of the fields are here. So that's how you get all of your fields to show in your query. Now, if you just want a query for the site words, then you're going to still use sense words. But you're only going to have one column. Alright, and you're going to sort by that one column. And next, assign aliases if you want to, and this is going to be site beautiful. And now we're going to sort it. And we are still not finished. We have a bunch of blank records. That's why when we sort it, we don't see anything, because they're there. They're just way down here. We need to delete these empty rows, or we can just go into our query and put a criterion. We can say not null. Now, if we save it, okay, is not null, sorry, okay. Don't like the capital? Okay. Let's try that. Okay, I'm probably not putting this right. It may not be a criterion, it may be a function. Let's try moving it to the function field. No, that's not what we want. So definitely is not null should work. You may not be able to put it on all the fields at once. Maybe that's why I'm getting the error. Okay. So let's try something different. Alright. So we're going to put beautiful site words. unattractive sight words, quiet hearing words. Now wait a minute. Since I can do this, I'm going to do it. Alright, I'm going to put that there, and you can just drag these to rearrange them. I'm going to put sight words there. Then I'll have beautiful and unattractive. Then I will have sound words. I'll have quiet and loud. I'll have touch. I'll have pleasant and unpleasant. Taste. Delicious and disgusting. And then I will have smell. And I will have taste and smell. And then I'll have colors, light, geometric, dim, I didn't want to do a relationship. Yeah. Oh, already got that. Personality, emotion, got all of them. And now I'm going to put is not null and is not empty. Oh, okay. It didn't like is not null. It likes is not empty. So here we go. And I'm just going to put in every one of these, so that it's not going to have any empty spaces. La, 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 la. And that should do it, because ID is not empty. So now we're going to save it and we're going to run it. And ta-da! Oh, I have nothing. Why? It's not empty. I have plenty non-empty fields here. So what? Why? Okay. Maybe it's doing and for all of these. Okay. Yeah, that's going to give some different results. Alright, we got to make all of these or. Because the default is and. We don't have records that are empty all the way across. So, alright. And you'll notice it's giving me more rows. Oh, notice a bit, it anticipates me moving all of these down. Okay. A lot of these things are just logical things, and there's plenty of answers on the internet too. If you run into trouble with your database creation, there are ways to find out what in the world is going on. I have usually been able to find answers anytime I've had difficulties. So just because you haven't seen me go on the internet and find those answers, I just didn't feel like it was something that I wanted to bother y'all with. But, you know, I had trouble putting my spreadsheets into databases, and I found an answer very quickly, actually. It was embarrassingly quickly. You know, I should have just did the same search when I was on the air Wednesday, but oh well. I did it and I found it. I get nervous when I'm trying to solve a problem with y'all watching me, so there's that. So now, here we go. And this one. And I think that is all. So now we go back, we save it, and we run it again. And this time it should work. Okay, I don't understand why we still have a blank one here. That does not make sense to me. So, we have an empty field, and it's not sorting it. It's not sorting these. So, we're not finished. Alright, so the answer is to alter the tables. So, how can we do this easily? Alright, if we run this, we've got the problem. Okay, so what we can do is go down here, and here are our words. So we can copy. If we just hold down, you hold down the shift and you do the down arrow. And now I'm going to do Control-C. Now, with queries, you can't alter the query by trying to edit the words in the query. A query is just a display of the data. It's like a picture. You can't alter it. You can just look at it. But you can copy from it. Now I'm going to go to the table itself and open Sense Words, and I am going to, this was the beautiful sight words. I'm going to select the entire column, and I'm going to do Control-V. Why is it not pasting it? Alright, edit. Apparently I can't. Well, that's just ducky. Why can't I paste? paste it. Well, what if I, instead of doing that, what if I just, what if I just, oh, because they're rows, duh, they're rows. You can't do that because they are rows. They are not just one column with one thing. So what I can do is create a table. Alright. All I want is view ID and beauty word. Okay, I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna name it Beautiful Words. Okay. And I'm gonna create, well, Viewed ID was going to be it. I'm just going to delete this. Okay, that's my, and I want it to be required, and I want auto value, yes. Okay, so it's going to automatically put in an ID for my beauty words. Okay. Yes, I'm saving it. Now I have beautiful words. Now I have no data yet, but I'm gonna have it. Oh, it's not letting me? I can't just paste it? Alright, but I can do the same thing that we did before. I am not in the table, I am on the table tab, and I'm going to do CTRL-V. And now it's going to say Append Data. And yes, this time we want it to append. We already have our definition and data. So we're going to just put it in there. We're going to put it in beauty word. Okay. We're gonna, why did it, alright. Okay. Well, I can do this. I can delete the table. Yes. I can create the table. Definition and data. And I am going to let me think about this. Okay. If I do a since words table, think about this a minute. I already have a since words table, so I don't want to call it that. I want to do something different. So I'm going to call this table senses. I'm going to do definition and data, create, and primary key, yes, I want. An error occurred, yes. So what error? What error did it do? Where are my beautiful doesn't make sense to me. Alright. So I'm going to delete my sentences and start again. Why did it not want to do this for me? I don't get it. Alright. Let's start over. It must be something simple that I'm doing wrong. Okay, I'm going to do definition and data. Alright. Create. Yes. And what error? Invalid column type. Alright. I can do something different though. Alright, I'm going to create a table. I don't want to select fields. Alright, I'm just going to create the table in, alright, I'm going to do site. Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm not ready to save it yet. You can't change the order of these once you do this. Alright. Okay, and this I'm going to make integer. I'm going to make it auto value. And there we go. Okay. Now, okay, I have the site table. Now, append data. Yes, next. I want it to go inside. Create. What? What error? What? Wrong data type. Wrong data type. Let's see if we got any data in there. Nothing. We have site IDs. That's wonderful. We have 95 records. Why do we have 95 records? That's weird. That is weird. We have empty records. That's not what I expected to see. Well, this is a case for the word processor. If you can't fix it here, you can always go to your word processor, fix your word lists, and then re-import them. So this is what I will have to do. But, okay, so I've shown you how to get your data into your database. I've shown you how to do queries to connect your databases. I mean, I have to use the right terms here. I don't know why the word database just rolls off the tongue. Tables. Each one of these with its parts of speech, these are tables. You use queries to tie your tables together and get your data that you want displayed. You use forms to make it pretty. So you can use this for data entry, and if you have a good query, then your form will be very functional, and you can either make it read-only so you can't type into it, or you can make it so that only certain things can be typed into it. So say you are lucky enough to make enough money as a writer that you've got assistants. You can make it idiot proof. If you want them to go through your book and, okay, put every character I've got into this database that I've created for you, and you make a form so that they can't alter the ID number, but they can create new records and they can do limited editing. So in this way, you can control how your data gets entered if you're not the one doing it, or even if you are the one doing it, you can make it idiot proof so you don't shoot yourself in the foot. So databases are wonderful things. You can do a lot with them. And you can make reports if you want to share your work with other people, or have a cheat sheet for yourself. So, I hope that this has been an interesting look for you of how you can use a database. And don't forget to save. Now, when you're in a table, this is pretty important. If you're in a table and you're adding anything, you will need to hit this little icon every time you finish a record. So what is a record? A record is one row across. So if you are entering stuff in your table and you see the little green dot, the red dot on the symbol, that means you haven't saved your record yet. You need to do that every record. Every line that you add, you will need to hit that. So that's an important point. When you get ready to leave your database, if you're going to close this file, you want to hit this one, because even though you may have saved individual records in your tables, I'm going to get this right. If you're saving records in your tables, it does not save your entire group of tables, which is your database. So you want to hit this and save it. If there's no red dot, it's okay, you don't need to, but if you want just the extra assurance that yes, it is saved, hit that, and then you can close your database. So, until next time, this is DanniStories wishing you a pleasant evening, and I hope you've learned something from this little foray into databases, spreadsheets, and you. Yes, you can use these things. They're just more tools in your toolbox. And it depends on what data you're keeping and how much of it you want to have available in different forms, whether you need a database or not. So I hope you'll think about what a database might be able to do for you. If you're keeping data in spreadsheets, you can do more to sort your data and display it in a database than you can in a spreadsheet. but there are other things that spreadsheets are better for. So it's nice that you have all these tools that you can use to build your research out into more useful forms. So have a good evening, and if you're handicapped like me, remember, don't worry about your can't do's, because there will always be can't do's, and as you get older you add to that can't do list a lot. But if you are concentrating on the things that you can do, that can-do list is what you want to focus all your attention on. Don't worry about what you can't do. Worry about what you can do, and out of your can-do list, only worry about the 2 or 3 things that you want to do today. Don't be like me and cram all this stuff in, because it will drive you crazy. So, have a good night, and I will see you again Monday, when we will do something else. I haven't figured out what yet, but I may go back and do more characters in DAS, so let me know what you want to see, and that's what I will do. Have a good one. Good night. I'm ending it now. There we go.